Welcome to the Bludd Heart Podcast, episode number 25. Today we're basically going to break down itemization. Last week we talked about itemization from the blog post part 1, and then like 30 minutes after I posted my podcast, they posted episode 2, or part 2 of itemization. So we're going to cover that today. Here, mostly, I might branch into other topics. I did immediately post a video on itemization, and the podcast is great because the fact that I've had a week to think about it and mull it over with my community and listen to other creators, it gives you more perspective. Not that my opinions change too much from our original, video on it, but this is going to be good because it has more time for me to put my thoughts together and not just have like a knee-jerk reaction, right? Like we've kind of theory crafted this for 7 days at this point. And I guess I have a clear picture of what I would want or what I like so far. Remember like brainstorming and just talking about stuff out loud really does kind of bring it to the surface. Just brainstorming in general, like a sharing of ideas can lead to more cooler ideas. So if I say something that is probably not the best idea, and then somebody goes, well, you could tweak it like this. And then Blizzard could go, well, we can also tweak it further like this. And then that thing becomes better. So I think only talking about it is going to get Diablo 4 better. I noticed, in the community, everyone was just kind of like, not everyone, but most people were just kind of like nodding their head and being like, good job, Blizz. Like, pat on the back or thumbs up. I like everything that you're doing. Like, we have to be a little bit more critical, boys, okay? Boys and girls, aren't that right? We have to be a little bit more critical. And even if we're wrong, somebody has to play devil's advocate. That's the only way things are going to get better. Is like, you're in a relationship and you just say it's good, it's good, it's good. And then one day the game comes out and you're like, I don't like it. They're like, well, we asked you literally every step of the way, if we thought it was good. And they're asking us for feedback. Every blog post, they're like, yo, please give us feedback. See you in hell, right? So I encourage you, right? Other creators to take a stance on, even if it's wrong, just think of something like if you like trade-off mechanics, right? Well, here's a trade-off. You offer a good thing and then you offer a negative thing, right? Hey, you like trade-off mechanics? I got you covered, man. Prove it. Trade-off. Offer a positive and a negative for everything. I'm only going to offer like one positive and negative in this podcast because we got to ease into it, right? Change is hard, so we got to ease into it. We're going to cover the TLDR version, but I'm going to go into as much detail as possible without just kind of, sticking on a subject for too long, just kind of lingering, being a lingerer, chat. So they added 3 new affixes, and they said that they're increasing the total number of affixes on items. So as you know, itemization has been a huge topic because we want the game to be the de facto thing that people go to. We want Diablo 4 to be the greatest thing ever, right? Why not? They're adding angelic power, demonic power, ancestral power. Angelic power increases the duration of all beneficial effects like self buffs. That would be like, Wrath of Berserker, Archon, things like that. Or even healing. So maybe if your mantra healing will last longer. Or I don't know how it's going. There's no monks yet, but yeah. So angelic power increases beneficial effects. Demonic power increases the duration of all negative effects like debuffs and things like that on the target. And then ancestral power increases the chance of on-hit effects, aka proc chance. That'd be like a Thunder Fury. So, if you have a lot of ancestral power, your Thunder Fury be proccing like crazy. Or, items that have an on-hit effect like Reinhardt, really fun items. This is the coolest one out of the 3. Ancestral power to me by far is the coolest, but not every affix has to be a home run. I want a lot of options. I like sandbox. I always say that. I want my Diablo 4 to be a sandbox where I could just play and build wacky, crazy amounts of builds that no one's, not even the devs have thought of. Like the devs are like, here's the tools and, you know, figure it out. Like here's Minecraft, and then people go have fun for years and years and years. Or like here's the thing to play in and have fun. So I like that they're adding new affixes. I think there needs to be more affixes on items. There needs to be, yeah, it even says blue or, you know, magic, which is blue, and then rare, which is yellow, and legendary is orange. So you should see a lot more stuff in the future update and in the next, you know, I don't know, beta or demo or anything like that. I'm assuming like BlizzCon next year is going to have another demo, and they're going to be giving us updates. They said our first update is in February. So a few more months, they'll have an update planned for us. And they might take all of our feedback. So again, leave feedback in the YouTube video, be vocal on the forums. Like we want to get the game, we want to give them ideas, right? If I say they should remove angelic, demonic, and ancestral power, they're not just going to do it, right? So like, this is just like offering suggestions. But I like them, so I wouldn't say that. I like these powers. The names, I'm not really, I've been complaining about Diablo names for a while, like the Patterns of Justice set. I do like saying Paj, so that's kind of funny. But in general, I feel like their naming needs to be a little bit better. They could definitely, I guess I'm going to offer more than one criticism. You know me, man. I'm going to shoot from the hip. So these powers are great, okay? These powers are pretty awesome. The only problem that Bluddshed has, or the thing that I want to see improve. So here's an item. All right, if you're watching the video version, then you can clearly see it, or if you've read the post, I'll put a link to the blog post in the description if you guys haven't read it. I encourage you to read it and all that stuff. So anyway, they're adding like a threshold mechanic. And the threshold mechanic says once you get to 40 angelic power or 50 demonic power, right, whatever number that is, then you unlock the power. So it's a pretty big bonus getting 25 fire resistance or 25 cold resistance. Like those are a lot, it sounds like. So to get there, you have to get to 40 angelic power. So you need to carry it on a bunch of items to achieve that. Now it could be on your talents, it could be on other sources. We don't know for sure, but they are asking us for feedback on what we know, not what we can imagine that we know. So based on what I see, it can only be on gear. And even if it could be on other things, it's like, I don't like it, okay? And it's okay that I don't like it because we're supposed to brainstorm and say how we feel so then they can look at it objectively. I don't like it because I think that it's basically a set. And it's like me carrying a few things to get a bonus, like the Captain Crimson set. Like Captain Crimson is a 2-piece set, it can't be 3-piece. Well, it's a 3-piece set, I guess, but if you have Ring of Royal Grandeur, it's a 2-piece. Anyway, it gives you reduced cost resource, it gives you cooldown. Like you carry 2 items and you get a bonus, and that's basically what this is to me. Okay, I'm gonna go over examples and all that. Just wait for the podcast to unfold, okay? Before you comment, just let it brew for a minute. To me, you know, you can mix and match these items in a more interesting way, and you know. I said, hey, how come I can't just have something like this? Let me bring it up. Where these are like 5 affixes. I think yellow should have like 5. And then why can't I just get 7 fire resist? Why do I have to get 10? Why do I have to get 15 out of 50 to build up, and then get fire resist? Why can't I get a partial fire resist? That was my thing. I was like, why can't I just get partial? So I don't have these dead stats on gear. It just feels like useless. And I think the balancing of the power isn't actually that interesting. So like, even if I had to carry, like let's say I was going to a fire boss and I really needed fire resist. I don't think just grabbing my fire gear is interesting. You know what I mean? Because it's just like it's as interesting to me as wearing a Captain Crimson set, because I'm like, okay, so if I wear Captain Crimson, I can't wear a belt. Okay, so I don't get to wear the Witching Hour, so I have to lose DPS there, or I don't get to wear another legendary belt like Lamentation, for instance, right? Okay, and then I have to swap out my boots, so now I can't wear boots. Like, it's, to me, it's just so easy to understand. It's not really like insane decision making. Okay. I offered this, but another YouTuber kind of met us in the middle. So I said every stat should give you a point, a value point. And then the community said, or like half the community said, there needs to be more trade-off. So there's a streamer called Noxious, and he met us in the middle basically. And I want to show you, and that I would like even more than my suggestion, I guess, because at least it's a middle ground mechanic. But I don't like the current iteration of Threshold, just so you know. I don't like this being like blacked out, and then like, why would you even wear this piece of gear? Like, you would wear something else with stats that you can use right now versus something that you can't even use. Anyway, okay, let me show you what he's suggesting. I'll put a link to his video in the description. He's makes some really good points, and I agree with basically everything on his new video for sure. So this is what he proposes. Okay, so if you have these boots, and if you're listening to the podcast, he's basically showcasing that you get partial resistance for the most part up to a different threshold. So instead of having 40 threshold be the one thing, so it's like all or nothing. Like, you get no power and then you get power. So he's having a more gradual system. So, and then if you stack more, you get 4%, 8%, 12%. But if you get to that 40% that Blizzard was saying, then you get 25. So you get more than double, or you get their original implementation still, but it has a more gradual build up for character progression. And you might just want you might want to build a balanced character. And with the old system, you can't build a balanced character because you have to carry so much things to balance it. But this way you can carry a little bit of fire, a little bit of cold, a little bit of, arcane resist or whatever kind of resistance they have. So this is what I was saying, was the items should have stats on them, and then we can make that decision if we want to go all the way to 40 or not, or we just want to stick with like a little bit. Like, you have more freedom with this version or with my version than you have with their original implementation. So I don't know if they'll add this little bar to it, or they might have a different system in place, but even talking about it hopefully allows for change, right? So I like this middle ground system. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'll link his video, like I said, again, in the description. Whenever I do itemization videos, I get really, the chillness, I get excited because I'm passionate about D4 and I want the game to be amazing. Noxious does say at the 17-minute and 23 mark of his video that it's like creating mini set items. So he said the same thing that we said in his video. So I agree, man. I agree. I don't want to create mini set items. I'd rather have a more freedom based set. I want the freedom to build how I want, but also, when I do commit, there's a huge payoff. So yeah, I guess I'm just reiterating the same thing. Attack and defense changes. So it says, based on your feedback, we've changed attack to only be found on weapons, which I think is cool. I think it's cool when you get a new weapon and you can see visually for new players and for veterans, like, oh, this level 40 weapon is stronger than my level 10 weapon. And like the attack is on there. I don't think it should be called attack. I've been saying it should be called, I don't know, weapon damage or some flavor. And then defense maybe shouldn't be called defense. I don't know. I feel like the names could be better. Anyway, and it says defense is only on armor now. So you can only find defense on armor. You can only find attack on weapons. And they've removed both attack and defense from jewelry entirely. I think it's cool, man. Attack and defense, you just look at as something that you can easily figure out. There's not like a thought process there. So I don't mind them removing it from jewelry. It's a good thing. I don't want it on gear either. The goal here is to better embrace the fantasy of each type of item. I agree, that's a good idea. We like attack and defense stats as a way to convey power progression on items. It's a core part of any ARPG, is the quest for power. just as we have skill ranks, talent trees, character levels, and so forth. Attack and defense allow us to reflect your power growth on items as well. So this is a good change. I like it. Ancient Legendary Replacement. So in Diablo 3, you fish for these ancient items. They basically do nothing for you but give you more stats. They're removing them from the game. I think that's a good change overall. In Diablo 3, they serve a purpose because we would be bored if we had nothing to farm. They give us something to do. I do not want them in D4, so I'm glad that they are removing ancient items in Diablo 4. They're replacing it with a new thing, okay? So this is another banger that they introduced. We'll be introducing a new type of consumable, which we haven't named yet. This would be earned by killing monsters, just like other items. It would have one random legendary affix on it, and it only drops in the end game. And it can be used to apply that affix to a non-legendary item. So you get a legendary affix end game. So I would imagine like when you hit max level and you're doing max level content, like you can get the furnace effect. It's a bad Photoshop, but yeah, so you can literally get a cool rare amulet and then get a little furnace cube and you're like, I feel like I need more elite damage, right? Furnace is not as interesting for D4, but I'm just using it as an example because everyone probably knows the furnace. So you can be like, okay, I'm gonna take my little furnace consumable, I'm gonna enchant the rare amulet of my choice, and now I have a legendary effect on a rare amulet. I think it's a better augment system than we have in D3. I think it's good for the game. I think it's interesting. Like, it's almost like the cube in a way. So if I wanted to carry the furnace and a Thunder Fury, I can't in Diablo 4, basically, as far as we know. So now I could do that with this system, and it's only really affects us in the end game. So when you're pushing the highest of high content, it will allow just like different gameplay and different combo skills, just like the cube does, but it's on our gear. Now we do know that the cube is coming back. We don't know to what capacity though. So this is kind of like, in my mind, a Kanai cube effect on your character. So, and there's no sets, so we have more slots to play with, you know? So if this is like a lawn build and we had no cube in D3, now we can use the furnace and use a Hoda weapon, or you can use the furnace and Ingeom, things like that. Because you can eventually get this random cube. I don't know if they're gonna be tradable or not. You can eventually get this cube with the furnace affix and put it on your gloves or your amulet or wherever you see fit. I think it's just really cool because, you know, like I was saying, if you have 2 pairs of boots, you can't use them normally, but in the end game, you could potentially use both boot affixes if you get the drop of one of them. You know what I mean? So it's a good system overall. It creates a lot of flexibility. I do have some concerns though. One of my concerns is please don't allow stacking of multiple powers. So if you have like, I can't just put furnace on every single item. You know what I mean? I can't put 8 Thunder Fury effects on my gear. You know, even if it would take a long time to get the consumables, I don't know if they're going to be dropping like crazy or not. So, and there could be like, it could be from the whole item pool. So like if you're playing a Sork, you could get like, you know, like let's say there's 200 or 300, let's say there's 300 legendary affixes. Like it could take a while to get what you want, especially if you can't trade it. So yeah, I don't really want to stack multiple effects. And I like that it's kind of like a rare thing that you would fish for and farm for. And then the you're kind of augmenting your gear. It's taking place of the cube and augments, it looks like. I really like that it's a permanence too. Like I'm actually committing. Like I'm taking this rare amulet, I'm putting a seemingly rare power on it. It's like I'm committing to my character and I'm handcrafting my character on the gear, and it feels very thematic. Like if I was playing Frozen Orb and I put like a Frostburn effect on my amulet, and then I took in like Arcane Orb buff and I put it on my amulet and I focus on frost damage. Now my whole character is completely geared toward frost damage, and this build, it feels super committed, right? In Diablo 3, when you augment your character, it's like a lot of work. It takes time, man, to get all these augments up, and you feel like permanence to it. But this is a cooler permanence where it's more thematic and has more feel. Like this is a cooler version to do it. So I like this system overall. Another thing that this brings up, though, is to look at it objectively, like we said in the beginning of the podcast. Another thing that this kind of brings up is it devalues legendaries a little bit, because what's the point of a furnace when you can just rip it out of it and throw it on a piece of yellow, right? It kind of devalues the legendary in a little bit. At least players get to experience legendaries for a while, and then in the end game, then it kind of devalues them a little bit. I keep saying that, but I want to show you a way to maybe not let them be devalued so much. And hopefully you guys have suggestions too. And then, again, we can make the game better for everybody. So if you're looking at the video version, there's a lot of stuff on screen, but I'm going to give you the TLDR. A rare chess piece at max level and a legendary chess piece at max level probably should have the same attack or defense. Like if it's a weapon, if it's yellow and legendary, it probably should have the same attack and defense, because if a weapon has higher attack, you're probably never going to use it, or you're going to feel bad when you do. So I think the defense and attack should remain the same on max level rares, or it has the same range, right? So it'll, whatever. I think this should basically have the same. I think the stats on legendaries should be about 10 to 20% higher, but you're only getting 4 stats for legends and a legendary power. So 5 total, you're getting 4 random stats, seemingly random, right? And a legendary power. That legendary power obviously affixes like Thunder Fury. And then rares, again, should be like 10 to 20% lower in stats, but they have more stats, and you can use that consumable effect. So they both have these legendary powers and potential, right? Potentially, but they have more stats. So you might want that extra. You might have a build like that just needs cooldown, area damage, fire. You know what I mean? You might have a build that needs extra stats, and you might have a build that doesn't need that many stats, but you'd rather have those higher ranges. So I think that this is just one way that you can balance out rare versus legendary, but still making legendary better in some situations, because it is higher and stronger for stats. Like you might want extra fire damage, but then there's times where you'd want that extra stat line in the yellow or the rare. And you can use this. So this would be better most of the time. I think most people would take more stats and use the consumable on the item. But again, there's be times where I don't need that extra stat. There's a lot of builds in Diablo 3, Diablo 2 that don't need every single stat, and this might be better. This is just one way to do it. Definitely let us know if you have any suggestions to make them stand out a little bit more. Originally, I was thinking of something like, what if legendary boots always rolled with like 1% move speed or something like that? And then what if a chess piece always had like -1, or like always had 1 dodge if it was legendary, like a flavor, things like that, where there was like almost like a special ability for it. This is a brainstorm thought. Or like, a legendary weapon always had a 1% chance to attack twice, or something, where it was like a specific axe or maces always had a 1% chance to stun, axes had a 1% chance to bleed. Things like that. Like what if like every legendary item type had its own kind of, like Wolcen does that. A lot of games do that. Like what if every legendary item type just had an inherent extra thing because it was legendary, right? Because it was badass. Let me know. Yeah, again, let me know what you guys think and all that stuff, and we'll make the game better, man. Maybe Blizzard will look at this and be like, "Yo, Bludd, you're dumb, dude." But we're gonna make it better. That's a good idea. That's a bad idea that we're gonna turn to a good idea. You never know, man. You never know, right? They do read the comments, and I do message them my feedback all the time. So any thoughts I have, I send directly to them, and so I'm always kind of going through different things and trying to improve, always trying to be better every day, day by day. And then again, he said, we want to remind you that none of this is final. We haven't even tried most of this in a working build yet. We'd love to get some constructive feedback on these approaches, right? They want feedback. They're like, please guys, give us feedback. And as well as the general direction we're headed for itemization. We never shared this level of detail this early before, but we look forward to reading what you have to say. Thanks, David Kim, lead systems designer. People have been asking me, Bludd, what do you think about the seasonal theme? And I love the seasonal theme tremendously, okay? But since we're in an objective-based podcast, right? This ain't no snowflake type podcast, okay, chat? It's broken and borderline stupid in a way, right? It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And I like it. I like the crazy. I think it's fun that they took the risk. Like, it's almost like when you're watching a guilty pleasure and you're like, I shouldn't like this, man, but I love it. It's cool that they break the season for one season. It's only 3 months. And then we move on to a new thing. You know? It's really cool. They should take risks and try to break the game and then rebuild it next. It's a good thing that they don't incorporate them into the main game. You know, like Path of Exile will have a theme, and then that's part of the game forever. So it's almost like, I mean, they don't have to incorporate it, I guess, but it feels like they do most of the time. So it's a good thing that they don't do that in Diablo 3. That way we can have different themes and we don't just keep adding more power or more systems to the game. And then I think that gives them more freedom to then, you know, try new stuff. And if it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. You just get rid of it, right? The seasonal theme's kind of crazy. I wish we had more time to actually test it, though, because there are some ways to, you know, exploit the system. And if you ever find yourself wanting to use third-party programs, or you ever find yourself wanting to use any kind of exploit, please, please, please do not. Right? It's not worth losing your account. It's not worth, you know, like, especially if you put like years into it, like I have, or you have, what if you have the pre-order ROS wings, or you have the collector's edition wings? Like, it's literally not worth it. Just don't cheat at Monopoly, Grandma, okay? We're going to find you out, and it's not cool. Another thing people have been asking is, yo, Bludd, yo, Bludd, do you think, yeah, more D4 talk, I guess. Yo, Bludd, do you think that D4 should remain really slow and people want D4 to not have a cow level or not have anything to, like, no rainbow cow level? But, like, in D2, we spent a lot of time in the cow level, man. In D3, we didn't actually spend that much time in the cow level or rainbow level. But they're part of our history, I think. I think D4 should have a cow level and possibly even a rainbow level. Like, what if the rainbow level in D4 was like zombie unicorns? Like Princess Lillian was like, it was like a bunch of zombie skeletons, and Evil Oliver was like a skeleton. That'd be cool, dude, right? I want to be edgy. I want the game to be badass, but don't act like it wasn't part of our history. And D1, Garbad was talking, and it was like the most cringe thing ever, you know? No, please don't hurt Garbad. No. Talking cows, man. So, or bulls, right? I think it's okay if it's a small percentage of our overall game time. There should be lighthearted, jovial nature in some aspects. I want the game to be edgy, badass, and like Bloodborne or Dark Souls, but there should be a small brief. Like, even movies like that have comic relief somewhere. There's usually like a little bit of comic relief or from one character or lightheartedness. So yeah, I agree. The like 95 or more % should be dark and dreary, and you know, we should write poetry in the corner because we're having such a bad day. But there should be a break in the monotonous, and there should be a little bit, and you can do it in a fun way. Like I said, you can make the rainbow level like cooler with like skeletons, or then you can do the cow level. I mean, I've never been to the cow level. I only heard rumors of it, but supposedly it exists in a distant land. So one day I'll be able to find my way to it, or I don't know if it's just a myth or not. I guess we'll see. We'll wait and see, guys. But they should definitely try to put one in D4. We got some patrons today, boys. So big patron shout out to Kyle. Ian, thank you so much for pledging. Huge one from Pickle Power. Pickle Power, thank you, man. Thank you. Pickle Power coming in with the juice. We had a patron from Turnip Bird, nice name. We had a patron from Atriu. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. We had a patron from Kraig. We had a patron from Ronald. Tohoru. Victor. Thank you guys. Man, you guys really support what we do here at the podcast, the stream, the YouTube channel. I got another video planned this week, and the Let's Plays pop in if people like the Let's Play. I might increase it to 3 days a week, but as of right now, we do 6 hours total a week and 2 episodes a week. So it's almost like an episode a day if it's like an hour-long episode, right? It's 6 hours a week, 2 episodes a week, 3 hours each episode. There's a lot of math I'm throwing at you. But yeah, people like it. And it makes me happy that you guys like off-meta builds in 2019. Like slow, off-meta, hardcore, so it's even slower. I have to be more careful. I'll probably take the character to the hundreds and then we'll make another one. And I'll do like maybe 2 or possibly 3 of these hardcore challenges this season. They're like pop-up challenges, right? So I'm glad that you guys like it. As a creator, I like to make things that people enjoy. It makes me happy, right? So hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully we can get some constructive criticism in the comments below. Yeah, we can make the game better, and the devs definitely, I would say, check out my stuff, and they'll probably read your comments. And I did send them a bunch of feedback already, a bunch of comments that you guys made on the last video that may or may not exist anymore, but hey, we have this one now. So again, this is the Bluddshed, and I'm out of here. Peace.